My role was the retrofit coordinator. So I arranged to have the retrofit assessments and surveys completed. And then with that data, we analysed that to find the best measures for each property, whilst discussing that with the customer and the homeowner to find out what would be best suited for their property, and then instruct the installer to complete those works. And then finally for me to make sure that they were completed correctly and within budget. I think the biggest benefit for the customers is certainly the aesthetics and the comfort of their buildings. In some cases, we've improved the heating source to make the properties heat up a lot quicker. They're cheaper to run, so reduce fuel bills. In a couple of cases, we actually made no difference in terms of energy efficiency, but we made the property a lot more comfortable for them to live in, especially cases where the properties had damp or they've had defective measures before. What we've done is we've removed those defective measures and installed a newer, better version that will improve the comfort of their living experience in that property. The biggest challenges for the homeowners has been the time and disruption and the not knowing of what we're trying to achieve. A lot of these measures that we've been trying to install are relatively new, or people don't understand what they do or the impact they have on their property. And it's quite understandable because in some cases we've taken out a gas boiler and we've installed a heat pump, and not everybody knows the impact it's going to have on their property or the bills. It's about explaining that process, and it is quite unnerving when it's not your field of expertise. There are quite a few customer barriers that we do come across. The major one is this changing of people's properties, and we're altering people's buildings and the way they live and the way that they control their heating and hot water. And sometimes it's quite difficult to sort of comprehend what's going to happen. The biggest issues I can see in the UK at the moment is the supply chain and skills sort of marketplace, where there are definitely a lack of people who are suitably qualified to install the types of measures we require. Every single installer has to have a specific accreditation and qualification, and there's only a select few who've got it so far. It does leave the marketplace quite empty. So when we're trying to find people to do certain things, it is quite difficult. We had a big problem with availability of products, especially in external wall insulation and even simple things like loft insulation and cavity wall insulation. Because the materials we're using now are a lot more quantified, they're regulated materials. It was quite difficult to get those materials in a sort of suitable time frame as well. So that was our biggest major problem. I think there's quite a few different ways the government could promote and offer incentives to customers. I think the big thing is advertising. I'm not saying TV advertising, but there could be posters, also leafleting or contacting the energy companies and getting them to filter it through to their customers to help to promote that schemes and information to their customers.